Well, hello and welcome to another video. This video is going to be about gratitude and about the all-encompassing nature of gratitude as a replacement to the grievous thought system of the human being. One of the primary, for me anyway, the primary guiding principles of A Course in Miracles is gratitude. And before I start onto it, I want to put forth an idea of just how different the universal curriculum is as a thought system from the human thought system. It's a total replacement. And you'll start to pick up of how much a total replacement it is as we go along. And I meet a lot of people, and I could put my finger on my own nose and say that I'm meeting myself if I was a student attempting to bring myself to a point of illumination to realize the truth. But having realized the truth and finding myself now coming back into time and space to reanimate and reuse this avatar, make of that what you will, I'm going to speak for a moment from the separated point of view in the idea of that there are indeed others. And if you're a fan of Ramana Maharshi, the Indian mystic and sage, you will probably be aware of his very simple teaching that there are no others. But of course, this is a point you adopt as a premise, keeping your finger on your nose in the attempt that you make through your spiritual determination to reach enlightenment, to bring about a shift in consciousness so profound that it literally prepares you for revelation. That preparation leaves you in a place where the alignment with the universal curriculum that you develop or that you have, and in this case when I tell you that gratitude is an across-the-board action of mind, an across-the-board offering or blessing that you give to your world without hesitation, without restricting that to anyone or anything, you'll begin to get an idea of the all-encompassing nature of the shifting consciousness that you need to be heading towards. And I say heading towards because for most people this is a slowly evolving training program and a slowly evolving process. And the more I am involved with it these past 26, 27 years, which is how long ago it's been since I reanimated this, having realized the true nature of self in that the Father and the Son are one, it becomes clearer and clearer to me just how individual the particulars of accepting atonement for oneself can be, and how slow, and I would say that I'm constantly surprised at the nature of, I guess, the retardation and the dumbing down of the mind that attempts this. And I remember Krishnamurti said you have to be very, very brave or very, very stupid to pursue enlightenment. And the stupid part of it seems to become more apparent to me, and the brave part less apparent. I don't actually know of anyone particularly that would go out and I guess the ultimate expression of being brave in doing this would be to go and sit in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights and put it all on the line. But you could also say that would be stupid. But given that this is an individual pursuit and no one can tell anyone else particularly what they should or shouldn't do other than that which is given to them to tell or given to them to say, in the overall sense, for me anyway, and I think Aurobindo was another spiritual teacher who expressed this. It's extremely frustrating, or it's extremely, and this is something I'm letting go of as well, but it's extremely surprising, shocking, just how dumbed down the human consciousness is from its awareness of its true self. And that's revealed more and more through the nature of the participative and collaborative action of joining together in this idea of mind training. We've got a visitor. Oh. I don't know if you can see him. Hang on. Oh, he just went under there. There he goes. Great big monitor lizard. That guy's about probably 5 foot long. It's nice to have nature just come in now and again just to remind you not to take things too seriously. The nature of forgiveness has to be universal. And I've had people say to me, I don't think I can ever forgive this person or that person for what they did to me. And of course, that's a false premise. That's a false way to look at things. But with every action of forgiveness, it is gratitude to that person, situation, or event. It is true and honest gratitude. And you know gratitude when you find it. It's like in your heart, you feel it's like, oh my God, I'm so grateful. You know gratitude when you find it. It is literally the gratitude that brings you the recognition that you've learnt the lesson that is being presented to you, that you have actually leveled up, or you have actually accomplished an action of healing of your own mind in the release from the process of dumbing down yourself to yourself, which goes on all throughout the day. And the reason that mind training is required in such a heavy way is because it does go on all throughout the day. And the nature of mind training is that God calls upon your forgiveness to save you, or God calls upon my forgiveness to save me all throughout the day. There's not a moment in time and space, or in my experience of the world, wherein the situations that I seem to think that I find myself beset by, whether they seem to be neutral or whether they seem to be excited or depressed or any of these things, all of the worldly states are illusory. And so the nature of forgiveness applies to all of them, not just the bad ones, not just the ones we think we don't like. This is a total replacement for your thought system. This is a universal curriculum, and it is necessary as part and parcel of an action of freeing yourself from the cycle of, I'll call it the death loop, which is the name of a new Xbox game out now, which is quite popular apparently. And just a funny little aside, the promotional line for the game of Deathloop on Xbox is something like escape eternity and find yourself in the death loop. It's really quite bizarre, but no more bizarre than anything else in the world that I think I find myself in, separate from everyone and everything else. So gratitude is an all-encompassing action. I can't forgive that person. I'll never forgive that person. I will never be grateful to that person. Now, I could cut right to the chase, right to the very end, and tell you that when you remember God, and try to get a sense of this, when you remember God, when you have the experience of the illumination of your mind, and we're very early in time at the moment, we're only 2,000 and something years since the resurrection, but when you have that experience, as I had 26 years ago, you will be grateful to everyone for everything. the murderer, the rapist, the torturer, the thief, the robber, you name it, everything. You will be grateful to everyone for everything. And I'll tell you why. This is the small print. Everyone in this world is playing a part for you that you ask them to play for you in the script of your experience of separation from God. And you're going to say to me, don't be insane. Don't be mad. What the hell are you talking about, you fucking crazy lunatic? And I understand that. But I've had the experience of the illumination of my mind. I remember my Father. I remember truth. I remember reality. And I have the experience of it blazing through my mind. And I can't avoid it. I can't deny it. The experience that shows me that the world is not real, that the world is just a dream, just an illusion. No one ever died. No one ever suffered. No one ever did anything to me at all. But in this world, that's hardly helpful until you have the experience, and then you can begin to work towards it through the purification of your own thinking. I understand it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. There's a lot of leaps of faith required and a lot of willingness to actually accept atonement through being willing to become miracle-minded, through being willing to let the action of forgiveness in you in such circumstances that seem to be so repugnant you'll never forgive, be miraculous. Everyone is playing their part for me. And as I become willing, all right, it's only a little bit of willingness that's required, as I become willing to see things differently. Right? And the thing is, I'm not going to become willing to see things differently until I'm fucking sick and tired of seeing things the way I see them now. Until I'm tired of getting the results of my own thinking. Until I'm tired of giving myself sickness and suffering and cancer and God knows what through holding on to my grievances, which is what happens. Right? A grievance is a block. A grievance stops the flow of love, stops the receiving and the giving, and this cycle of the ever-extending nature of the creative reality that you are through you on earth as it is in heaven. And this is going to sound like a whole lot of spiritual gobbledygook to anyone who's not familiar with these principles, but I assure you that no matter whether you want to turn me off and tell me that I'm crazy, or whether you're sitting there nodding in agreement to some regard, this is 100% true, what I'm telling you. Your mind manifests your reality. I choose all the cast and crew of my experience, and they play the part perfectly for me that I've asked them to play, to represent my own experience of denial of my truth, the dumbing down of my mind that has forgotten reality, which is eternal. If I was to say to you, imagine unconditional love. Everybody likes the idea of that. But then it's not long before something creeps in and, oh, I can't love this person unconditionally. Or somebody else over here. That situation wasn't very loving. It takes a lot of willingness to enter into a moment where I can be shown that when I tell you that you had asked that person to play that part for me, you can experience the truth of what it is that I'm telling you. You can experience something of a revelatory nature that is going to bring about a shift in your consciousness, that is going to show you the decision-making that you entered into to bring about that particular experience. Now, the particular experience is one experience. And I should put it this way, all of the worldly experiences you have, whether they're happy or sad or good or bad or all, any of the things you want to call them, they're actually the one thing. There is no yin and yang to them. The good ones are just as vile and corrupt as the unhappy ones. And you're not going to want to hear that. It's hard. Nobody wants to hear this message. The nature of every situation you find yourself in the world is actually the same situation. It's an experience of denial. I can experience denial on my own terms, or I can experience it seemingly against my own terms. I can experience it in ways I think I like, or I can experience it in ways I don't think I like. The matrix is the matrix. Good, bad, yin, yang, right and wrong, for better or worse, it's all the same thing. It's one thing, and it's an experience of something that is not eternal and therefore not true. Only the eternal is true, because God is eternal, all-encompassing, creating in its own likeness as spirit, universal love, forever. Any religion, any spiritual teaching that's true on the planet will tell you that. So looking at gratitude as the indicator that I have forgiven, looking at gratitude as the sense of relief as well as the sense of accomplishment, marking the learning point or the maturation of a learning point, is something I need to be honest about. It's very easy to convince yourself that you're grateful for someone because suddenly you understand that you are manifesting your reality and that person has been playing a part for you. But, and I could go into the story of Mary Blunt, who's the angel of death row in the United States, Blount, and you can read about her story for yourself. I think I've mentioned it many times. It's very easy to deceive yourself that you have forgiven and that you are grateful. But until gratitude becomes your feeling from your heart, your experience is like, wow, thank you. A heartfelt sense of gratitude to everyone for everything. It's not complete. Now, as a reference for this whole thing that I'm talking about, for this whole idea of gratitude, and I'm going to use my Lord and Saviour's greatest offering of forgiveness, or I think it's his greatest offering of forgiveness, is when he was nailed to the cross. And he will tell you, of course, that he was never nailed to the cross because he's not that body, but let's just look at it from the physical point of view for a second. And upon the cross, where he uttered those now timeless words, "Forgive them, Lord, they know not what they do." As the blood was draining from his hands and his feet and his head and the hole in his side, "Forgive them, Lord. They know not what they do." That's an incredible offering of compassion and empathy, like true empathy, which is across the board. There is a recognition there in that one simple statement that there is something that they know about, but in that particular situation, they don't know it. They know not what they do. Jesus is asking and appealing to a higher authority, to his Father, to our Heavenly Father, for a release from his own ideas of persecution of those who seem to be persecuting him. Forgive them, Lord, they know not what they do. Now, to go into that, very simply, and I'll try to keep this brief, everyone who comes to this world gets a memory wipe. Everyone who come here to this third dimensional little backwater spinning planet in the middle of the Milky Way, somewhere, in the illusion, in the dream, everyone who enters into this experience of dreaming of separation does not remember truth, which is unconditional love, does not remember truth, which is a universal brotherhood. And we spend our days from birth until death and birth until death and birth until death going through this loop, this death loop again and again and again, learning and overlearning the ways of the world, dumbing ourselves down further still within the framework of the dreaming to the notion that universal love is not only warranted, but it is our natural inheritance. And when Jesus said, I have come that you may have not only life, but have it more fully, that's exactly what he meant. He meant, not only have I come to remind you and to restore to you the remembrance of your eternal nature as life itself, but I have come to undo the bamboozlement and the dumbing down of your mind so that you might have life even here on earth more fully. Forgive them, Lord, they know not what they do. Now, if you look at the idea of God as perfect peace with no opposite, and I'm just talking about on earth here, the expression of a heavenly state of mind is a mind that is perfectly peaceful and has accepted the nature of its true self. If you look at that as an idea of perfection, anyone or anything not operating under that auspice can hardly be said to be sane, because sanity is perfect peace. The perfectly reasonable mind, a perfectly peaceful mind, is perfectly sane. As soon as chaos enters the mind, you begin to lose sight of peace and you begin to lose sight of reason, and you begin to fall into this, and every step into hell is one step on a slippery slope, but you begin to fall into this, not only a malaise in the forgetting of true purpose or in the forgetting of who you are, doubly dumbing that down, but into the insanity of trying to work out why you are not at peace and why you are not happy from within the framework of the very system of thought which you have adopted that promotes unhappiness and destroys peace. Which is why you cannot understand the universal curriculum from within it. You actually need a miracle. You need a miracle. Not a miracle to understand it, not a miracle to fix this or change that or heal this person or my mind or any of that stuff, but a miracle without any add-on. I need a miracle, Father, because the miracle only comes from God. And what you need is to begin to have experiences, ongoing experiences or holy instants of the remembrance of God, initially through the witnesses to truth in you, which will show up as ideas of healing and becoming more harmonious in your relationships and situations you find yourself in, and eventually through revelatory moments of direct light communication. Like that, when I open my mind. Forgive them, Lord, they know not what they do. Every brother on this planet, and it's funny because I think it's 1 in 4 people has a mental illness. The statistics for mental illness in this country, in Australia. And it's like, no, hang on a minute. 4 out of 4 people has a mental illness. Anyone who does not remember their Father and who has not returned their mind unto his service and brought about a totality of thinking that results only in peace is completely insane. You can't be partially insane. You can be no longer wholly insane as an idea of entering into healing, but insanity, when you are within it, when you are within its grip, and anyone who's experienced a moment of extreme anxiety or confusion or whatever knows that it's like there's a whole thing that goes on there. It is your total state of mind. You can't be a little bit unhappy. You're either unhappy or you're not unhappy. You can't be a little bit at peace. It's either a total state, yes, I have peace, or, oh, well, I have mostly peace. That's not peace, because there is still chaos. And whilst there is still chaos and still dysfunctionality within the mind, the door is left open for error to further creep back into the thought system and create another malaise in a spiritual sense, even if you are an ardent spiritual student, and set forth again seemingly credible groundwork for the notion of judgment against yourself and judgment against each other. Now, the Holy Spirit uses judgment that you've made to harm yourself for your own good. God does not take anything from you, but it reinterprets what you have made for yourself in a way that brings only beneficence and only helpfulness into your life and into your relationships in life. So forgive them, Lord, they know not what they do. Firstly, recognizes that at some point they did know what they did. They did know what, or they do know what they're doing, right? But you've forgotten that you know what you are doing. Right? You've forgotten that this is only a dream, and you have also forgotten that you consciously chose to enter into the dream of your own free will. God didn't force you. And I love the little story. It's my little story, actually. I made it up, but the story of the travel agent, where God gives the little soul free will, and the little soul takes that free will to the travel agency. What do I do with this? He says to God, and God says, go down to the travel agent. And it's a very loose kind of story, but so the little soul goes down and picks up a brochure, 12th dimension, 10th dimension. My Father's house has many mansions, many dimensions. Third dimension. Third dimension necessitates a memory wipe, etc., etc. And here you are, smacked on the bum as a baby, breathing into the lungs and seemingly convinced that, wow, look at this. And if you've ever seen a baby in their cot, looking at their fingers and toes for hours on end in complete amazement. Wow, what is this? I've got a body. Right. And then as we go along, we take it for granted. And, of course, familiarity breeds contempt. And then here we are, watching videos of an extremely radical nature of forgiveness that's going to bring us back to a point in our consciousness where we can remember the truth of ourselves. Forgive them, Lord, they know not what they do. It's in the doing. It's in the doing. It's in the actual action of forgiveness, which is an undoing. Right? Forgiveness isn't part of the human thought system. It was introduced by Jesus when he came to reinterpret the law of Moses. Right? Came to reinterpret the 10 Commandments as 2 simple commandments. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul and power, and your neighbour as yourself. Doesn't sound that difficult, does it? Until you try to put it into practice, into the doing of it. And so we begin somewhere. We begin to take a big step back and a big, broader vision look at the nature of what the hell is going on here. Why am I on this planet? What is actually happening? And how did I get here? And all of these questions. And we come across a video like this, which is going to present you with probably the greatest unbelievable notion that you will come across this year. Maybe not. And I'm laughing because at one time, if you had told me that I had to forgive everyone and everything for everything and be grateful for everyone and everything for everything, I would have told you that you were barking mad. That was a long time ago now, though. I'm a late timer, early in time, apparently, according to my teacher. But so, gratitude. I can never forgive this person for what they have done. I want them dead for what they have done to me and my family. I want them crushed into the dust under my boot heel to be no more, so that my memory of what they have done might be expunged from my mind. And I might live in peace, finally having achieved my vengeance and wrought my justice on the world and on the people of the world as I see fit. As Gandhi would say, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. Forgiveness is the only way out of the dilemma of the grievances and the judgments and the intolerable load of dark light energy that you mass to yourself as part of the process of the dumbing down of your mind in this world. If I tell you that everyone you have ever loved is waiting for you to awaken from this dream of death, would you awaken now? Would you choose to awaken now? If I told you that, let's look at this as the idea of being in a coma. If I was to tell you that you were laying in a hospital bed, in a higher realm of consciousness, in a non-physical realm of consciousness, and everyone that has ever played a part for you in this dreaming and those that are playing a part now are standing around your hospital bed waiting for you to wake up. What joy would that bring to your heart and mind to see them again? To see them all there loving you so clearly. Those that have embraced you here on earth and those that have denied you equally. I guarantee you that's how it is. My Father's house has many mansions. I think our friend is back. My Father's house has many mansions. There are many levels beyond the physical nature of healing through A Course in Miracles or healing through spiritual determination. There are many dimensions and windows through which we look, such as these windows in this realm. As we journey onward in the journey of the soul, back to the truth of ourselves, back to the moment before the fall from grace, before the war in heaven, before the idea of separation, that tiny mad idea entered the mind of God's Son in eternity. I can't possibly make a video that justifies to you why forgiveness is in your own best interests. You kind of have to bring yourself to that point. You kind of have to bring yourself to that part where you step beyond for a moment the place where being grateful to someone who has caused you some pain, perhaps a lot of pain, becomes ridiculous, becomes stupid to you. You have to step beyond that idea of it being stupid into a place where perhaps it's possible. Here I am listening to a video where one person claims to have gone beyond the physical world and come back. Here I am listening to this guy, Dave, on his veranda looking out over the bush with his gecko friend, or his goanna friend. And Dave's telling me his experience of remembering the truth and how it null and voids absolutely every idea I think I have of myself in this world. Wherever you go and whatever you do from this point on, you can never say that you did not hear me tell you that there is no world. You can never say that you did not watch a video made by someone who has had a non-earthly experience without drugs, without substances or anything, just through prayer and meditation. This video might find you very early in your own process. It may be, in fact, upsetting to you, and if it is, I apologise for that, and I'm willing to accept atonement for myself for that, as I already have done. But it is not a greater kindness to leave you languishing in your grievances and in your judgments and in the sorrow that you feel about the situations you find yourself in this world. It is not a greater kindness to simply accept atonement for myself and not come back to share this message of hope and of purpose. You may not embrace the message, you may even resist it. You may even wish me dead. But I'm only offering the truth. None of this is so. It's just a dream.